Hey guys, just real quick, I just want to let you guys know you can find me at patreon.com/Jonathan Rector. All your financial support there goes directly back into making more content for you guys and you ladies out there. And remember, you can always cancel your subscription at any time. And if you are one of my Patreons, thank you so much. Your help gets me closer to making my personal comics and my dreams come to life. Seriously though, head on over there if you guys are interested, and anybody that gives any money at all, if it is something that you're interested in, you do get access to my pencil brushes that I use in Manga Studio 5e for free, and there's 5 of those guys. So subscribe today if you're interested in it, share if you're not, maybe one of your friends might be interested in it. I appreciate all of it. Thank you again, and enjoy the video. Bye. Hey everybody, welcome to Live Scribbles with Jonathan. You can check out my website and my work at jonathanrector.com. And if you guys wanted to check me out on Patreon, you can head on over to patreon.com/jonathanrector. I don't know what has been about this week, but there's been like a surplus of Patreon subscribers. So if you're in the chat and you're a Patreon subscriber, just imagine a thumb right now, just going up, a big thumb. Thumb up in the air for you guys. And if you're an older Patreon subscriber, that thumb, it's still there. You guys are still cool. And there's a few people that have reached out to get some more one-on-one time, which is awesome. So hope to see you guys there. And if you guys are interested in finding out some more stuff on that, basically what Patreon is it's a little way of saying thanks for making content for free. And if you wanted to throw $1 or a couple bucks at me to do that, hey, awesome. Anyway, head on over there, check it out, see if it's something you're interested in, all that fun stuff. So, there's nothing new this week. Well, that's not a lie. We're most likely going to talk about it while we're doing this, and it involves sort of I don't want to say it's a new workflow because I've hopped back and forth between that. It involves comic pages. Nothing that I have really to show you guys right now, unless you're on Facebook. I made a quick post, and on Twitter I made a quick tweet before... excuse me, before starting the live stream. And other than that, hopefully this Friday I'll finally have that Pomodoro article for you guys. It's nothing robust, it's just taking the time to get it done. So hopefully you guys can check it out. And if you're having a little problem with maybe time management, or you just want to get more projects done, hopefully that article and video will help you guys out. And if you just want the clip, if you want an answer today, like right now, just head on over to Google, I guess, and search Pomodoro, 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 and technique, and dive in. It's very simple and easy. It's working big time for me when I get a chance to draw, anyway. But okay? So we got some. Okay, so this show's for you guys and girls. So if you have any comments or questions, need help with anything, by all means, hop into the live stream chat in all capitals. Just ask your question, and I will try to jump in there for you. And at the end of the show, like usual, the last 10-15 minutes, I'm going to open it up for critique. So if you want, you can throw it in there. I see some people talking about a butcher and me being a vegan. It's actually funny because this mini comic here, eating meat is outlawed. Ooh, spooky. And this guy, he's not going to have none of that. He wants to eat his meat. So, this is where the pig warriors come in. This is, you guys are going to find this out anyway. It's not, I'm not trying to keep this under wraps, but so the idea of the story, it's just real quick, but piglets have gone missing. Little baby pigs, they've gone missing. And what it is they finally tracked it down to a group of barbarian savages. And you can tell that I'm really trying to paint a bad rap for meat eaters. And it's led by this guy, the King Butcher. And these pig warriors show up they're the ones that have been liberated, you know? They live in this world where all they do is it's a group of animals that go around and they make sure that bad people don't eat meat because it's against the law. So the story is the fight against the pig warriors versus the barbarians led by this guy, this awesome looking guy, the King Butcher. That's right, mother trucking pig warriors. From Canada? I don't know. Maybe. Might be the secret sauce. So what I'm doing today, unless you guys have questions, what I'll be just sketching away. I figured I'd take this hour to just do some personal work, which is this. If you guys haven't seen the process video for this guy, head over to youtube.com. Look at my stuff, and I think it's the very last video that I've done forget what it's called, but you can see it's just basically developing a character concept. There's 3 versions. This one's gotten the most feedback. I actually like this guy as well. So what we're doing is the next stage. This is the concept here. I sort of like it. There's not much. I don't need a lot of design. This is just for a mini comic. I don't need elaborate, beautiful artwork all the time, right? If we can just get by with the bare minimum, that's what we're going to do on this one. But this one got the most feedback from people, which is great. I was leaning towards this one myself. There is something that I'm going to add from the first design onto him, and I'll talk about it as we go. But the next stage here is... Sorry, once I had this finished, I print this out and I put it on my wall. I do this with all my projects. I print it out so I can have it around. Once I'm settled on this is the design, now we're going to go into actually drawing them. Just lower the opacity, make a new layer on top of it, and just draw tight lines on it. The point of this is basically what they'll look in the comic book. So there's things in here that I don't want to have a lot of detail on, because if I'm drawing a whole bunch of fight scenes or complicated scenes, you know, it's not always fun to keep drawing all this detail all the time. So let me just get this going here. Whoops. Just erase it a little bit here. I'm not worried about very tight lines, and if I'm lucky, I'm going to be able to get into the coloring for this guy too. I'm not sure if the comic book's going to be colored or not. We can worry about that once we get to the colors. So, one of the designs that I was quickly talking about there that I brought up that I like from the first design came up to me while I was just sketching in a sketchbook of this guy here, this character. And it was just an idea that popped up. I like it. I don't really know if anybody else like it. It's okay. It's not a big deal. It's sort of just like a lore thing that you get to throw on your characters. And, you know, there might be some people that don't know what lore means. You know, what I'm using for is like the history of the character, the background of them. We're not going to spend a lot of time with these characters. It's a mini comic, right? So it's most likely just going to jump right into the action, the very last scene of the movie, the very last scene in the comic, besides the, you know, they save the day and all that stuff. It's the big battle sort of thing. And on this character, what I want to have on him to just, again, give him that lore, give him some, what's it called, some history, some, if you will, some meat to the character, is I'm going to be adding all over his body something like this. These little like hash marks like this. And what they are the kills that he's done. And what he likes to do is cut them onto himself. So for everything that he kills and eats, that's meat. You know, it's sort of like, I guess, like an outlaw. And they might put like a certain tattoo on their face or their body or something. Oops. Just to let everybody else know kind of like how badass they are, you know. You see somebody that's got like a certain tattoo and you're like, oh wow, that person's killed somebody, you know. It has lore, it has a history, it has a story behind it. It's story within a story. And I'm a big fan. Anytime you can add stuff like that, it's great, because let's say this mini comic wasn't a mini comic. I'm turning it into like a big rich story or whatever, right? By introducing that this guy's got these scratches on his face, or these cuts from all this thing, from all the kills that he's done, you'd look at it and you're like, oh wow, okay, cool, you know, ish, whatever. But if you had room to tell the story, you could also go back for a few pages or a couple of chapters, you know, if in a graphic novel or something, and just go in there and actually show the first cut that he put on himself. The first time where he was like, I'm going against the law here. In this world anyway, eating meat shouldn't be against the law, right? I'm pro meat, whatever the hell. And that first moment where he does the act, right? He breaks the law. It's like a character defining moment. And what he does is he cuts himself, you know, and he's like, I'm keeping track now. I want people to know that I'm against that law, or I don't care about that law, you know. You guys know what I'm saying. You guys know what I'm saying. And I'm always looking for juicy stuff like that. I think most of my favorite comics that I read too, the characters always have something like that in there. You know, you always find out a little bit later, you're like, oh, that's why they kind of have it. A great example, for those of you that play video games, if you don't, I'll just give you a paraphrase version of it anyway. God of War, the main character Kratos, He's a Spartan, right? So you'd think he's in the sun all the time, tanned, delicious looking. And they call him the Ghost of Sparta because his skin's white. And you never really find out why it's white until towards the end. Big spoiler. The game's been out forever, so you can earmuffs if you need to. But big spoiler is in like a drunk-filled rage, or not drunk, but just bloodlust rage, he ends up being manipulated and he raids a village or a small town and he kills everybody in there in the name of Ares, his god. And the very last two people that he kills are his wife and his daughter. And he's in total shock from it. And some witch casts, looks like a spell or a hex on him. And what it does is it turns his dead family into ashes. And those ashes cover his body. So that's the sort of stuff I'm talking about, where you can add something. It doesn't have to be like a physical trait, right? It could be a weapon. It could be just something that the character has on them. Something that maybe they don't talk to people, and eventually at one point they're going to talk to somebody, and that's the moment when you can finally go, oh wow, okay, this character is sort of like an onion, right? They've got those layers, they've got something going on, and that's the stuff I'm looking forward to. That's the stuff that, even if you're doing a superhero book and it's all just action and explosions and stuff, that's fun to do. But for pure story, it's my belief anyway that you need to be thinking about that stuff and trying to find them as best as you can and whenever you can. Okay, so let me just scroll up here. How many pages is this pig project going to be? I initially said 3. I'm thinking of changing it to an actual mini comic that would, to me, it's usually about 7 pages plus a cover. And a mini comic can be a bunch of things. It can be literally the size of the comic, like it's small. It's very condensed story, art, all that stuff. Like it's the mini version of, I guess, a real comic, if you want to call it that. But at the same time, it can also mean the actual physical size of the book. For me, I'm using it in the sense of it's just a small comic. It's not 22 pages. It's not an epic. It's not any of that stuff. And the reason why I want to just do a video on that is because it's my hope that when people read it, or watch the videos, what they're going to do is they're going to actually want to make a mini comic themselves and put their big massive project that they have on hold and put it on hold and actually do a mini comic for themselves. And I don't know if you guys have ever done a mini comic yourself. If you have, let me know in the chat, because it's been my experience that whenever I've done them, it's such an amazing experience to spend like a week or a month or however long it takes you to do a mini comic, and at the end of it you're like, man, it's a comic. What it does is it teaches you everything about making a comic book in a small throwaway mindset. Okay, so it's to break that fear out of some people that they have of even getting started, or they don't know how to start. So when you do a mini comic, what you do is you make a comic book and there's no ifs, ands, or buts, right? Even if you never show anybody because it's absolute garbage. That's okay. That's the point. Or the point can be you can try to sell it and stuff. Do what you want. You can figure that side of it too. All right, well, how do I market this now? How do I get people interested in this? Even if I give it away for free, how do I get people to read it? So I think it's an amazing experience. I know the first time I heard about them, I was like, nope. No thanks. I just want to do comics or I just want to do graphic novels. And this was before I was even really doing comic books. I had client work from time to time, but like even personal projects, it's always like, no, I want to do the big stuff. But the one beautiful part that I love, one of the big things that I love about mini comics is if you're a person like me that gets ideas all the time, you can just keep making mini comics, man. I don't want this episode to turn into a mini comics thing. I'll go in there just see if there's any questions again. But one really, really cool thing, one more really cool thing about mini comics, right, is if you were to spend like the day or a week just making a mini comic, you can shelf it when you're done. And by shelf it, I mean just put it away and come back to it. And when you come back to it, then you could go, okay, well, how do I turn this 7, 3, or 14 page mini comic into a graphic novel? How do I turn it into a 6-issue miniseries? How do I turn it into a 3-issue miniseries? You'll be surprised. If you can filter your story, your comic, like the actual main driving points down into a mini comic, guys, I'm telling you, it's kind of like if you've ever written a short story or a novel. I would imagine it's very similar to that if you were to just write a short story and then turn that short story, turn that short story into an actual legit novel. Okay, so I'm just going here and a pig branded tattoo. No, I don't want it to be that specific. I just want it to be. I think the idea, like, it's not just pigs versus men in this world. It's just the idea of it. And if it was just like a pig branded tattoo, I get it. You know, that could be cool. But I like the idea myself anyway. Just the cuts, because it could mean he killed anything and ate it. You know, so even that's a little bit more creepy, which is sort of like the idea I like there. Greg saying like, oh, let me just see. See, and here, okay, so Lilac is saying one other thing. Remember how I was telling you guys, like, that moment when the guy cuts himself, makes that physical mark on his body, that F the law, F the rules. I'm making my rules, and I'm sort of like pissing in the wind by doing this, so showing people how much I don't care about, you know, certain things. Lilac has like a little spin on it, which is, and this is the beautiful part, guys and girls. Why I'm telling you to think about this when you're making your characters and stories is this is the good stuff right here. Where you, like, and this is an example. The first scar was from his first kill, but the rest are mark of penance. Maybe that's it. He killed something and he was like, you know, yeah, and then something happens where he's just, you know, he's just trying to work it off, sort of thing. Okay. Lars is asking, Jonathan, I have a lot of stories in my head I want to do, but they're very long. Uh, Way too long for a mini comic. How do you do something that is only 8 pages? But I think doing an actual comic right now is too much for me to comprehend. That's exactly right, Lars. Uh, so I'm horrible when it comes to personal projects. You guys all know this. If you've been following me for a very long time, it's something, and I let you guys know about it too, is it's something that I'm trying to get better at. And the only way to get better at it is to just keep working on it. And what that is I have this really nasty habit of getting too many ideas, which I think all of us do, but I never see these ideas to, I don't want to say a finish, because I don't believe every idea you have needs to be finished. I just think every idea you have needs to at least be put somewhere. And you can come back to it when you got the time, or you can come back to it and see if it's even worth putting the next X amount of hours of your life into it, you know? But for me, what I've come to realize with what I like about stories and characters and comics and stuff is I love just the initial few moments. I love creating stuff. You know, I love coming up with stories of characters like this guy. Like, where's this guy been? What's his story? I love figuring that stuff out. The problem I have is once I start spending too much time with these guys, more ideas start popping up, and then I want to explore those characters. So I'm giving my stories and stuff a very big disservice by not sticking with them. But to answer your question there, I think theoretically you can turn any story, if it's good enough, into an 8-page mini comic. It's going to be a radically different version than, let's just use a movie for example, The Matrix. Okay, everybody loves The Matrix. I think I love The Matrix. So The Matrix is talking about a whole bunch of things, right? And it's up to you to choose what it is that you want to tell your audience. You know, it could be that, yeah, we're living in a fake world. That could be the big message from the Matrix for you that you want to tell. So in your 8 pages, you would just put all the things in there that tell that story, you know. And then if you ever had a chance to go back and add story to it, you could explain those things. And the same thing is working with the mini comics. So if you have all these big ideas in your head, in 8 pages, what's like? Okay, I guess this is more going to answer your question here. What is the stories you want to tell? You know, are the stories you want to tell? Are they just like action scenes? Are they just like, I can't wait to do this really sweet car chase? I can't wait to show these superheroes fighting. I can't wait to show these I don't know, zombies chasing these people, and then they just eat, like, and then they get to a hospital, and then the hospital blows up, and then is that what you see in your head when you're doing this stuff, or is it you want to explore character, and that's as far as it goes? You don't actually spend the time to sit down and write anything or draw these characters and figure them out. Because if it's just the action stuff, then you could totally do a mini comic with just that action scene. Get it out of your system. Keep it. Save it. So you can look at it and go, maybe that's what I want to do. The other side of it is if you want to do like the story or the characters and stuff, just pick a scene that you would want those characters in and just do a mini comic there. It doesn't have to be... You don't have to condense Lord of the Rings in 8 pages, but you can. Right? You can show 8 pages of... Just hear me out here. You could have Frodo in Middle-earth with Gandalf. They find a ring. All that's in 1 page. Then you can have 6 pages of them going through all the big stuff that they did. You can have them leaving the Shire. You could have them fighting the Nazgul on the Weathertop. And you can have them in Rivendell. Then you could have them in Moria. And then you could have them flying eagles over into Mount Doom and dropping a ring in there, exploding, and then sunshine at the end, right? Like, it could all be done. It's not as cool of a story, because there's no moments to sit down and hear these characters. I just plowed through all 4 seasons of The Walking Dead. I've been hearing people talk about it for so much. I've read the first, I don't know, I bought one of the Walking Dead books. It's a massive one. It's huge. And it was okay. It started off really cool. I don't know. It just wasn't for me. But I wanted to give the actual show a shot. And the one thing that it does very well, in my opinion, is, look at everything that's around. It's gone to shit. Everybody sucks. But there's so many moments in those shows, and I've even seen jokes where they're like, an episode of The Walking Dead, 90%, 80% talking, 10% walking or running, or 15%, and then it's like 5% zombie fight, right? And the idea is you learn about these characters. That's the reason why you come back. If you're watching, in my opinion, if you're watching The Walking Dead just to see cool zombies and cool fight scenes, that's cool. But that's not what it's about, right? It's about the characters. That's what story is. It's these people's story, and that's the thing, Instead of 24 comics before the walking through 40, heck. Okay, so I'm getting stuck doing this guy's anatomy here. I did a big boo-boo. All of this here is flattened out his wrist. So let's get some bigger curves going on here. Just rip this up a little bit. Okay. So, what was I doing with this guy? Where was I? Open his mouth a bit. We're going to give him one of those. Just like a smooth chin here. But I want him to have like those jowls. He's in like an older guy, maybe like he's in his 50s or something like that. But he's one of those 50-year-olds. I don't know if you guys have ever seen these guys. They just blow my mind. Usually, let's just say a biker or something. They're like 50 years old, and they're just like scruffy, but you can tell they got some age on them, right? Just by looking at their neck. But everything else is like a rock. I don't get. Boom, boom, boom. All right, so let's give him his little butcher's apron. zoom out here so I can see. And I'm trying to remember to just find the important details, I guess. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm really adding some work here to his phrase and stuff on his butcher's clothing here, but I just need to keep remembering and reminding myself that this is for a comic book. So, like right here, I've got like all these like dangly chains and stuff. That's more story character, you know. Like, what is that? What is it? Is it like their home, you know, wherever the hell that is in the mountains or something? Is there a lot of like broken hooves or something that are like tied to strings that are kind of like wind chimes? I don't know. It's probably too much story for what I know this is for, right? A mini comic. So just, I think the scratch or the cuts on his face is more than enough. Since this is a smaller book, one detail like that's probably enough. Lord of Matrix. Okay, so I don't know if I want him just to have a bare chest. I like obviously the muscles are fine and dandy and stuff, but I'm just wondering if we should put like a secondary shirt underneath of him. Might look kind of cool. Like layered clothing always looks, I don't know. It's always in fashion. I don't like wearing layers. Just gets too hot. Alright, so I'm going to just put like a generic wife beater kind of shirt. Is that like the actual, I know it's not called a wife beater. I know that's not the name of the shirt. What the hell is that actual shirt called? Is it just a dress shirt? Let's put some cuts in that shirt, some tears. So you can see the skin underneath. That'd be cool. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn off a rough layer just to see. So this guy's massive. He's absolutely a tank. So I'm going to go in here. Again, I'm not worrying about drawing this stuff 100%, but I want to have at least some weight going on here. I'm just going to start scribbling over some of the lines here just to give areas like his face some meat. Because that seems like what we're talking about here. I want to fray this up a bit. Maybe we get a little creative. Should we do like the mutton chops kind of going up? Nah, that's fine. Give him some sort of sideburn action. It is just a tank top? Okay. Gotta put a crown on him still. Alright, so let's add some weight to this arm here. So get a bigger brush here and just do a thicker outline. So the comic thing I wanted to talk about at the beginning of the show, just to give you guys a little update. Like I said, it's not a new work routine, but you guys have seen it. If you look on my Thanos video, I'm going to actually try to do the next video or something like it again, just to bring it back up. But Will and I, in the chat, we were talking, what was it, Will, like Monday, I think it was? Maybe it was on the weekend. We were just sort of talking, you know, comics and process and stuff like that. And I just realized that I want to get back into just doing pencil work. You know, a lot of the stuff I do for clients needs to be inked, which is fine. I get it. And instead of hiring another inker, I want to be the inker because I can't really find a lot of inkers that mesh well with my stuff. That's just my opinion. But so what I'm doing is Ryan Otley. He's been posting some Invincible stuff, and it just sparked like that. Oh man, I want to try that again. What he does anyway is he'll use Photoshop to do digital layouts, and then he will print them out in blue on Bristol, 11 by 17 Bristol, and then just pencil over top of that, and then send it off to the inker. Now, I don't have a blue line printer, so what I use is just black, but I just lower the opacity to about like 10%, print it out on regular printer paper, and then just start inking on that. So I'm about one page into Worlds in Peril using this technique, and it is, it's good. It feels good. I'm noticing it's a little bit more time, but my pencils feel, I don't know, it's just I don't have to sit in front of the computer all the time to do everything, and it's just a good feeling for myself, at least my workflow and stuff. So I'm not sure if any of you guys in the chat, if you guys do that, or if you guys are interested in doing something like that. If you have, like, have your results been? You guys like turning out some cool stuff, or? Hey Zelda. So I need to get some reference here for the skull on his. No, it's definitely nice to rest your eyes. My day job, I work on a computer as well. Like most of you probably do. If not, you guys probably spend too much time on the computer, like me. And it's just after, like, even I got the tablet and stuff, like the Surface Pro to just take wherever I want. It's all screens. It's always screens, and after a while, just I don't know. I think you notice it once you just start drawing on paper again, and it's sort of like this calmness. I don't know. All right, so I need an animal here. What would I don't use a pig skull. It's just too close to the warriors there. But maybe what would a king wear? Like elk? This guy doesn't look fancy though. He looks like a ram. So let's try that, like a ram skull. Rhino skull would be pretty cool, but I don't think this guy's anywhere. Anyway, okay, so the rhino or the ram skull looks like one of those Satanist skulls. That's a shame. I'm still gonna use it, but I just don't like that. I what's the word I'm looking for? Iconography. I'll just the symbolism basically. I just don't like the symbolism that this guy would be. I mean, I don't know. It plays up that he's evil, I guess. Okay, so I need reference. That might do. These other. Yeah, we'll try that. I guess. The reason why he's not bald is because, in my opinion anyway, if you look at him, just like this, you know, he's got that regal, I guess he's got like a warrior look to him. At this point, I could put a giant mace in his hand and he could be like a paladin, an old paladin that's been around. There's a lot of places I could take this character, just like this design. It's not a very unique design. It's just a character, right? But by adding certain things, I want to elevate him to look kingly or royalty, or basically he's important. If you think of any like role-playing game you guys might play or video games, usually you'll have like the drones or the guys that just walk around, or the girls that just walk around, and they're the badasses, you know, they're the guys getting work done. And to me, they kind of look just like this guy. This guy's nothing special like that. But when you start adding, like, even if I was, even if we just did something silly like this, like, oh yeah, a crown, you know, and you zoom out, like now he's starting to look like an actual king, you know. Just it's a small thing, that's all. So I'm trying to keep that in context of where this guy lives, sort of thing. Now, if it doesn't look good, then we can get rid of it. It's not a big problem. I'm thinking we're probably just gonna do a bust shot here. Maybe I'll just stop. I don't really need to draw all that stuff. Okay, so let me just move all this down here. So I got room to play with those horns. Those horns. It's King Dryden. Yeah, exactly. Here you go. Just put a big fork. Or no, what do they got? A Biden? Is that what it is? There you go. Love it. Okay. I don't think I need the underlining sketch here. Let me just gesture in some perspective, though. Although his head's kind of following this. So we'll make sure that it's all sort of... Because we're going to be drawing on top down. Okay. We're going full mermaid on this here. Alright, so let's see if I can get this. This is going to be a little tricky. Animal stuff's a little tough. Okay, so actually using the skull is going to start, can't speak, is going to get some like some pretty cool ideas here. Just based on like, they've got, I guess like their muzzle sort of makes this really cool helmet sort of thing that comes down. Now granted, this thing is probably going to be pretty small compared to him anyway. So we gotta get these eye sockets in here. Yeah, this one's gonna be a little tricky. Okay, so we're going to take some liberties here. Alright, so we're going to have the helmet wrapping around. What's that? Let me just check our bison, because it's just, unless you're saying it again, but you might be the second person. Bison skull. Let's check you out. Okay, yeah, it's like a bull sort of thing. Now there's some stuff here. You know, I might just do this because it's still, yeah. The reason I didn't want to do this part, I'll just tell you guys right now, is some people look at this as pretty stupid. But again, since this is just for, we're still working on the concept here. And we're going to do some old, literally copy and paste and tracing. Let's get excited to trace. So this is what we're going to use, and let's see if we can get it to work. Now, this is done, or at least from the people I look at and stuff, this is done in the business. I always hate saying that. Invert selected area. That's it. And delete. Okay, guess not. Delete. There we go. And the reason why this is done in the business is because of... Okay, so I can try to draw the skull in perspective here. That's great. Right? How long does that take? Who knows? How long do we have? Probably not that long. Okay. So what you do is you start to find out little ways to get around things, um, like this. And people can look at it as one way of saying, you know, that's. And I've heard people say the argument. I understand it, that it's not the art way of doing things. Okay. But it does definitely help you um, speed along with ideas, and that's what we're using this for here. Okay, so delete this part here. What I'm going to do, because we're going to need some creative freedom here, just because this skull anyway isn't working 100%, so we have to kind of make it up. Okay, so what we're going to do, just going to start breaking up the pieces and figuring them out. Now what this lets us do here is we get to play around with the skull. You know, get these really cool ram horn things. Copy paste. We're gonna actually, looks like we're starting to just make up an animal here. What I'm doing with this, you guys are gonna see here. I'm trying to fill the space up with some shapes, and then we can start playing around more with the design here. If you guys remember me talking before, like another thing that you might want to think about while I'm doing this, if you have a big anti what I'm doing policy, is you never let the drawing, and I'm a huge believer of this, never let the drawing take control of what's going on. Okay, you're always in control. Everything is up to you, and you're responsible for everything in the drawing, right? So if something's not working, you got to figure out a solution for it. If you got the time to do what I'm doing, or sorry, if you have the time to actually not look for photo reference, which doesn't make sense, or literal tracing, like I'm somewhat doing. You're gonna see what I'll do here in a second. By all means, do what you got to do. I will open it right now. We got about 15 minutes left of the show, 20 minutes tops. So if you guys did have anything you wanted critique, by all means, just put it in the chat in all capitals. Just put, sorry, what's it called? Just in all capitals, just write critique, and just let me know what it is you're looking for in the link. Like what is that you might need a little help with. Hey, Zelda. Okay, so we're going to merge it all down there, and then we're just going to drop the opacity on her and draw over top here. Alright, so now the tracing that I'm doing here is very, it's based on what's underneath, but I'm still drawing my own stuff here, if you get where I'm coming from here. There's still stuff I don't like this eye being down here, so since we're going to go with we're just going to make it up as we go animal. Zelda, I'll give you pets in a second. Yeah, These animals are so weird. I've got the teeth on here. I like this really cool curve that's in here. I don't know if I want it to go away like that. Try to get some landmarks here for the perspective we're going to throw on it. Just get the second set of horns back there. Let's take a look at that. That might work there. Okay, so critique time. All right, let me pull it up and then I can read it for everybody. Okay, copy. Zelda, what are you doing? Oh my gosh. Okay, let's make a new image here. Okay, copy. Paste. Edit. Crop. Okay, so put it on the screen here for you guys, and we will read what Lars had to say. Lately, I've been working on my anatomy, and in this picture, I tried to draw without using any reference at all, which I usually do. Still, I feel like something is wrong. So before I start inking and coloring, could you give me some points on the anatomy? Okay, cool. So, let's take a look. Now, what you said is you drew this without looking at anatomy. Good for you. In my opinion, depends what you're doing. If you're doing like painting and stuff, it doesn't look like you're doing that. But if you're looking for something that needs to be painted with lighting, from what I hear anyway, is always have reference for what you're painting. If you're drawing, there's a time for studies, like learning anatomy. Then there's a time for studying anatomy, right? Like learning anatomy is learning how the things work there. But studying it, in my opinion, is different. Studying it is looking at how other people have learned the anatomy and how they stylize it. So study how that happens. Like what's that look that people are taking from anatomy, and then there's just drawing it on your own, like you're doing, right? So, so there's a few things that pop out right away. I do like, the image looks good. There's not much dynamic energy going on in there. I'm not gonna critique that part of it. I'm just gonna critique what you have here, okay? So we're going to just do what I like to do when we always do these things, is I'm just going to draw over what you have so we can see what your structure looks like, okay? And the reason why we do this, and I highly recommend you guys do this too if you're working digital especially, is draw over what you're doing so you can actually see your structure. So you can see maybe why things aren't lining up a certain way or why things look a little off. See, so I'm just noticing one thing right here. Like, I don't understand what this line is. I think that might have been the shoulder line connecting into that, and then this would have been like your bicep. But it's connecting weird, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to I'm trying to do what you had here with tubes and a little bit of anatomy going on. Those hands need some work, but we'll get into that. Okay. Okay, so we don't need really anything else here. Okay, so let's just move it over so we can take a look. Okay. So this is what the structure somewhat looks like, right? And it looks good. You know, you got maybe what I added here is actually helping it out, and I'm just gonna show you why. So if you look at her hips, right? You're doing here what a lot of people do that are sort of starting out and they're just trying to do the anatomy, right? So when you have your structure like this, you'll just draw the lines like the contour lines, like the outside shapes of it. But what that does is it creates a problem. It creates like these dead zones, I like to call them. They're just flat. There's nothing in there saying that they're round or they have a solid shape or anything. And it's a pretty easy solution if you just start stacking your shapes on top of one another to let the viewer know what's happening with the anatomy, right? So, for example, your ribs. If you just had a line kind of doing this, and I mean, I'm not going to try to make these people ripped or anything, but you're already showing right here like a belly button, right? Which means she's naked. I'm not quite sure, but so if you had this sort of line here, now what happens is there's a hip bone here, right? Like there's a perspective going on in that hip, so you need some sort of separation in there. And usually most people, when they'll draw this line here. You got to give her room for her crotch area. Okay, so as you can see, what's going to happen here is even though in this, I'm going to show you why this one flows a little bit better because I have these curve lines in here to show the direction. You know, like this is the perspective that's going on. But she needs some more hip action here. And a lot of people, what they'll do to get around this sort of angle is they'll just add like this muscle that kind of comes in here like that. Okay, so what we're trying to do is we're just trying to show some volume going on here, right? Okay. So if you look at what I was doing on mine here, let me just lower the opacity. We'll make another one here. We'll just put some black. So with mine, what I'm trying to figure out here is what is the center point. All right, so we got here. Now this chest is going, it's protruding, it's coming at us, and this hip, it's kind of coming towards us like that. Is what I'm trying to do with this, okay? Whereas yours is she's just standing, which is fine. I'm not trying to critique the pose. I'm just going to try to fix what you kind of have here. So what you figure out where like the hips are and the ribs are supposed to be, all the middle meat stuff, it's pretty easy to just throw in some lines. Because these bones right here, like on the hips, they're really going to just box it in, you know, and the same thing right here, box it in. Then you can get back into the curvy meat stuff here, box in the crotch area, and just curvy into the muscles. So if you've never read George Bridgman, I'll just give you guys this sort of thing. And I'm just going to show you one more thing about how to fix this because all up in here is really congested. and there's something weird going on with the arms. One real quick thing you can do is if you look at the size of this hand and this hand, they're radically different sizes. If you compare the size of the hand to the face, this one's way too big, this one's way too small. But George Bridgman, he has this really cool way of thinking about the body. If you think about it like this, and every single time you draw a body, it's very good information. If you think about it enough, and you just keep drawing it enough, you're not even going to start. It's just going to be second nature, okay? So whenever you draw the head, think of it like this, okay? So how did it go? It went there's square, round, I believe it is. See, I can't even remember the actual. And I believe it's triangle. And these are like the shapes of the body. That's it. So when you do the head, it's a square. Okay, the neck is round. It's this like cylinder meat stuff. Then you've got a box, again, a square box for the chest. And then it's round meat stuff. It's a square box for the hips. And then, I'm just running out of space here. And then it's round meat stuff for the thighs. Square for the knees. Triangle. Square. Just move it up here. And then triangle. So for the other leg, it's round stuff, square, triangle, square, square, triangle. Then up here would be square, round stuff, square, round stuff, square, square. Right, and I'm being very like gross about it here, but I'm just trying to think of it like that. So if you can just think of these sorts of things, that's the idea. All the square stuff is probably your most important stuff on the image, okay? It's the solid foundation. It is in perspective and it's easy to see. The round stuff, that's sort of like the getaway stuff, the stuff you can just kind of do and people will just be like, they won't even really care too much about it. So an example would be just using the form that you have. If I was to redraw it, one second, I will get back to yours. If I was to redraw it with the character looking at us, right? Just using what I just showed you with the squares and stuff. Okay, so she's leaning forward. Square. She needs a round neck. Right? She's got the bow. She's pulling it back. So the arm that's holding the bow is probably lower. So we're going to go square. And this is what I'm saying. Like now that you can see it in perspective, right? Round stuff. Square for the pelvis. Now we can start getting into some dynamic stuff if we really wanted to. Round stuff for the thigh. Square. Round stuff. Square. Or sorry, not round stuff. Triangle stuff. Square stuff, triangle. Round stuff, square. Triangle, square. Then you can get in the arms, right? Square. That out of the way. Square, round stuff, square, round stuff, square, square into the hand. So you kind of see what I'm trying to say with that stuff. Like if you can think of it like that, it might help you. Anyway, check out George Bridgman. He'll speak more on that. Now going back to yours, and we can wrap this up. I just want to show you where the problem is in what you did here. Okay, so there's no collarbone. That's the problem. If you could establish where your collarbone is, it's going to fix all of your arm problems. Okay, so just using what you had right here, that egg shape for the chest cavity. So you put her collarbone right here. Think of a collarbone exactly like this bow and arrow. Okay, so you've got this dip, or if you want to put a box. That's it. Think of this shape all the time, and then you get those tendons that come up, Adam's apple, stuff like that. If you can remember this, it's going to fix a lot of the issues that you're having here, okay? And the problem is this is a perspective thing too, right? Everything's always perspective. So let's try to put it in here. Okay, so we have her chest cavity. Then we're going to put her collarbone. So square, right? It's raised a little bit. It's coming over here, like that. This arm's higher, so it's got to go up, like that. Okay, so that's where this is supposed to be. Now remember these tendons I just showed you? That's where you can just kind of like, you know where those are supposed to go, right? So you can see her head, it's a little big, but it's workable. But this is where this is starting to come into a problem, because look at how congested that is. You have the shoulder way back here. What these things let you do is this is where the shoulder comes off of, like this, underneath of it, right? So that's where the shoulder's supposed to be, which connects much better. Like the breasts are in the right spot. It's just the shoulders that were messed up there. And up here is where you would have your what's it called? Your traps, or the muscles behind your neck. And here your tricep would be tight up here because this is straight. The tricep's what straightens the arm. Your bicep would be pretty much non-existent. So this will be straight into the elbow. Hey Zelda, give me a second, okay? So let's put it here again. So let's fix this one. I'm just gonna stop the arm right here into the forearm. Zelda, stop. So down here is where we have our shoulder, which would connect down here into the breast, like you already have. Okay, so I'm just gonna turn off what you had. There you go. So this is how it should look. That's how the anatomy should be for you. I'm just move that over, turn all this crap off, and turn on what you had here. Okay, just so you can see it. So it's a little difficult, I know, but if you overlap it exactly what you had, the issue is the collarbone. You just didn't have the collarbone really in the right spot. Other than that, I mean, it's fine. That's the big anatomy thing that I could kind of see there for you. So hopefully that helped you out. Again, one of the biggest people that I always recommend is Brian. What am I talking about? Brian is George Bridgman. A lot of people talk about Loomis and Byrne Hogarth. Great artists. But to me, if you haven't had a chance to look at George Bridgman, definitely do it. I plan on going back through that again for like my semi-yearly or bi-yearly read-through. But the way he draws, even if you don't like the way those people look, the structure of them is disgusting. It will help you ground characters and give them weight. If you're looking to give weight to your characters or to understand anatomy in like chunky shapes, George Bridgman is the 100% man to go to. To start learning the specifics of anatomy, then I would prefer Loomis if you want it to look, like smooth and beautiful. Even the other guy talked about, Michael Hampton, he has an analytical way of breaking down where these shapes and stuff go. But George Bridgman, definitely check him out, okay? So, hope you enjoyed that. Again, if you guys like this critique, head on over to patreon.com/JonathanRector. You can get your own. It's through email. Sometimes I'll record a video if I feel like it needs it, just to make something extra clear. But don't hesitate to be scared. If you had any questions or comments, or you need a little clarity on it, you can send me a message on there or through my email, and I'll get back to you and let you guys know what's going on. So without further ado, you can check out my website and my work at jonathanrector.com. Head on over there too if you wanted to follow me on Facebook or Twitter or any other way that you'd like to get a hold of me or stay in contact and show me what you guys are working on. I always like seeing like random emails that I get from some of you guys and girls. Just show me what you guys are doing. It's really, really cool. And thank you if you're watching on YouTube. And if you wanted to make the next stream, just remember it's every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until next Wednesday, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll see you then. Bye.